Anthem on the track. Live from the land of snakes. With the same nigga playing your weight. Wanna give your hands a shake. Bitch, we got bands to make, rubber bands to break. Guns and butter, that land on lake. Got bread, got plans to break the Brooklyn way. When Tony killed Manolo, had to look away. It's a war going on, starting to look like yay. Apparel worn is battle torn, thou shalt not kill when diamonds is dancing.
We're in a time now where our planet's history must be rebrought, revealed, revamped, reconstituted. To redo something, it means what? It was done before. You cannot redo something that is initiatory, precepted, first, and first cause. When you redo something, it means it's being redone for a reason, either because it was so good that you ran out and you want to do it again. It was so bad that you thought you might need to change it and revamp it, or it's just a matter of reconsideration. You find in the English language over 80 different words precepted with re, which means that most things on this planet are rebirthing, redone. It's been done for billions of years. This planet is billions of years old. I couldn't tell you how many. There are many astrophysicists, there are many people who study supposedly the contextuality of history that give you all kind of guesswork. It's all guesswork. Just like they tell you it's 93 million miles to the sun. How do they know? Have you ever been in the sun? Have you lived on it and talked to the people there? Some of you have. Some of you are sun-born because the sun is under the planet. We have been so misused, misguided, misunderstood for so long that miseducation is the way of life. But now I'd like to change all the misses and Ms. to Misters and paternal. The idea is that we are one in consciousness, in conceptuality, and in causation. We are one. And when you think out of the one, that's when you age. When you think out of the one, that's when you die. When you think out of the one, that's when you experience many things and come to find out, wow, it's unbelievable. Because our life on this planet is unbelievable. This is an unbelievable planet. There's nothing but a zoo, a kept area, a place to drop off on the edge of the Milky Way galaxy, and we're now moving because of the way that they've mistreated this beautiful planet called Earth, which has many other names, by the way, Terrestres, Uxine, what's another one they had there? Let's see. I forgot it, the one I just learned recently too. But Terrestres seems to be the more common name used by other individuals in our solar system and otherwise, Terrestres. That's why you get the word terrest and terrestrial. And on this planet you have extraterrestrials, terrestrials, and intraterrestrials. We have three different life forms on this planet. We know very little of the extraterrestrial, very little of the intraterrestrial, and now we're just beginning to understand better on terrestrials. Because we've got supposedly 5 now: brown, yellow, black, white. What's the other one? Oh, red? You can. But then we've got speckled, green, blue, and kind of a yellowish white. You haven't met them recently. We have giants here, pygmies here. We have 30 and 40 foot tall giants still living inside of our Earth and on many of the islands in the Pacific. This is when the story of giants, I have pictures in another lecture I give on the giants in, on, and around the Earth. We have so much that was never taught to us because the people that educated us were miseducated themselves, and then those that were used to guide and take care of us never told us the truth because they didn't know who they were guiding and miscarrying were their gods. Therefore, you are gods sitting in these chairs looking for a God outside. You're a God going to sleep in your body each night looking for a God to come and help you. And so when we study the ancient gods, understand you are the incarnate virtue of those ancient gods, and you look in books and treatises to find yourself and never find it. This is why there's so many arguments in so many religions, because everyone is looking for their God, and their God is them. You are your God. Now this has nothing to do with the Creator. Notice how I change this now. I do not use the word God to mean first cause and causation and primal. I use the word God to be any advanced scientist or any advanced race or any advanced person is showing me things that I can't understand. Therefore, I look at them as a God. And in many cases, so-called aboriginals, and never use that word again because it means to abhor the original. So-called indigenous, which means indicating that you are now inbred, so it's okay to use it off and on, but understand the word you're using. But indigenous to this planet are all kinds of races, all kinds of people, all kinds of creatures. There's a story that runs, you've probably heard it before, but I'm going to go over it because it's going to open up even some more doors. And I hope to cover a lot of territory with you today. We got started early enough to still give you some time, and me some time. And yes, I will go to a Q&A, and I do know where that's going to go. It means we're going to go everywhere from A to Z on the recap. But I'm still going to beat you to it a little bit by answering some of the questions you may have as to why I think this whole thing got started. I cannot tell you how the whole thing got started, and neither can anyone else. Nor can anyone else. It's all guesswork. But I will take it to what's happened on this planet that made a great change. And that was when there was in our solar system a 13th planet. We have 12 now. Not 9, 12. And that 13th planet was called Maldek. And Maldek had a moon that was called Malona. And there were races of people that lived on Malona, and there are races of people that live on Maldek. Any planet with the so-called moon has had either some intraverse life, meaning it came with that life, or some life that came to live on it. Because in many cases, seafarers, oceanfarers, and spacefarers, travelers there, will stop on the moon of a planet before they get to the planet because of either gravitational pull or other anomalies that surround the electromagnetic field of all planets. Those electromagnetic fields are called vortices. Let me say, as we're going to talk about Marduk and Malona, something else again. We have a problem here on Earth with what they call fuel, fossil fuel. And the ability to produce energy, and the ability to produce energy is running dry because the fossil fuel is running out. Well, that is so ridiculous because fossil fuel means that dinosaurs and amphibians of all types in the ancient times all came to certain spots, died, and their died out carcasses produced carbon, and that produced petroleum, and that's what we burn in our vehicles that use fuel. Well, that is so outworn. That is so stupid and so ignorant, but so is the cost of that fuel when they produce it, producing it, capping it up, and then charging you more. It's always a big game on this planet. And people say, well, why is this thing like this? Why is this thing going on forever and ever? Well, first of all, the fuel on this planet is endless, as fuel on all planets is endless. The Creator did not make a planet and not give it a way to energize itself. That would be you built a car and didn't know what was going to use for fuel, and then had to wait for somebody else to give you the fuel when you built it. The designer of a vehicle designs it with the fuel in mind and makes it that fuel available, or else you don't design it. It doesn't even come to conceptuality unless you have a way to make it go. I'm still going to get to Marduk and Malona, but I think I want to hand you this first too. There are 3 different forms of energy that a planet, a planet can use. One is called org, O-R-G. O-R-G means original, organic, organism, orgasm. It is the original thing. It is close to the universal prime creator's mind, and it is a fuel that planet then generates because we're in the universal creator's mind field. There is no such thing as empty space. Sometimes between our ears there might be, but we work on that and try to change it too. In space there is mind, and mind is energy in a form that is very rare and very fast. That's why we can't see that mind, but we can feel the effects of that mind. And around all planets is concentrated linear mind, which is called a vortex. That vortex has been alluded to by Imhotep, Atum. It's been talked about by many of the ancients, even had name for it, Mishmak, Mac, Vril, and we even now find it in the use of what we call the energy from Tesla, one of the people from Austria that they killed because he worked very closely. By the way, he was a Venusian, inborn here. That's where he got his mind from. If you ever read the book, The Wall of Light, he tells you about the Venetian ships that used to land in his backyard. They delete all of that. He was trained by the Venusians, and he brought that kind of concept here on Earth. Real mashmak, or vortex energy, is what's around all the planet. All you have to do is find a way to conduct that energy down and hope you don't blow yourself apart, split your very atoms, and you got every energy you want. Energy is abundant around us. You don't have to dig into the earth and use her own fluid, her hyaluronic acid, her collagen, if you would. You just reach out and pull it down. That's what the Ankh and scepter were. We did it back to Marduk and Maloney, but I think this is a better way to do it now to accept the thing. You see in many cases, especially as students of history and black people looking for consciousness and looking again at ancient Kemet and places like this, you see that Ankh figure all around. Of course, that's the one I have on here. Many of you probably have better ones than this one. Okay. But you see the Ankh. The Ankh was never used without the scepter. And the Ankh and scepter are one. It simply meant that the scepter was like what was called later on the ancient wand of magic. It was a hollow tube, either made of copper lined with gold or whatever wood, some kind of a wood substance, which wood was a nullifier. It had usually coils wrapped with either gold or copper, depending again on which time you used it in the ancient society of our earth. It had within it crystals, and it had many facets. Of course, all crystals have at least six sides, it's faceted. It had in there magnets, and it had, again, conductivity and usually what they call lodestones. The lodestones were not in the form of magnets now, and by the way, we carry lots of magnets on our website, but they were used as stones which had a magnetic aperture. It simply meant that they were tuned into the vortex of the planet, and the minerals that were deposited on the planet conducted that vortex in, which magnetized them. That's why each planet has its own form of magnet and its own form of lodestone or conducting mineral. This one happens to have that in this form called the lodestone. So you put that into this hollow tube with the crystal on top, and then you had a gripping area that you could hold it. And that gripping area was to carry your own energy into that tube. And then when that was done, it was conducted through you. Now the point then was, what did you do when this energy was conducted through you? Many of you understand now kinetic energy, where you get static electricity. You touch a wall and it's dry and it's cold outside, pow, a big shock. Well, you amplify that shock 1 billion times, and that's the kind of power you can conduct through your body. But of course, if we did it now, we'd blow apart. Our atoms could not take it. So in understanding that, they had to have what they call, again, the rod and sink, or in this case, again, the sepulchre and the Ankh. The Ankh was used to hold in the left hand when the sepulchre brought in the energy and it ran through you, and you could discharge or pull in with that one. It was like a ray gun. It was like an amplification now of some of the tingle tests that these cops are using and things like this. It was a way of conducting energy that was everywhere through your body, and with it you could do many wonderful, miraculous things. Homes that were built with this, things that were in it, had their own form of electricity. But this was all conducting what we call orb energy. Second energy a planet can operate on is magnetic energy. And of course there are two poles to that one, north and south. Magnetic energy either repels or conducts. It shows again using that vortex, same energy, but now step down to a lower degree to either repel something or to draw something, in conductivity or reflection value. Push out, pull in. But in between each of those poles is what they call a null zone. In many cases now it's been broken down to being what they call the 0 point, the place between north and south. Oh, thank you. The place between north and south that now does not draw or does not repel, but simply is a state of existence. When you do that, you like float in space, in time, because you're not observing either polarity, but following the balance between those two polarities. When a planet works on magnetic energy, spiritualness evolves there. High consciousness evolves there. Not as high as on an auric planet, but at least the conductivity there is for peace, balance, spirituality. it induces energy in what we have in our body called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland loves magnetism. It loves even more org, but it will operate on either one. And so when our planet is highly magnetic, certain life forms evolve on her. Certain life forms can be brought to her. And certain life forms, oh, thank you. And certain life forms can now be utilizing our planet Earth when it's magnetic. It was magnetic at one time. It was org at creation. But now we use on this planet something called electricity. And that is the lowest form of energy and power you can come up with. You can't stay what they call in existence and use anything lower than electricity. And of the electricity that our planet is now operating on by the life force principles that govern her, those races we call those that are now in government rule and now running our planet, the lowest form of that is ALF, extra low frequency, and that's what we're operating on. That's what most of our gadgets operate on. That's what you see these telephone lines and wire lines and Gwyn towers and microburst towers and the weather-making towers all operating on the lowest frequency possible, extra low frequency, or ELF waves. And I have a tape out called Elves. Elves, not elves, are killing people. People are worried about hoblins and trolls and gremlins and things like this, and elves doing tricks. Well, the tricks that these extra low frequencies are doing are beyond anything these other little creatures could do to you. Because they're killing masses of people, causing the thing to be AIDS to set on this planet, deterioration of free radical cells that now go bad, all because they're exposed to what is called extra low frequency. I say all of that, and in the second part, we probably will wind up taking a break if you need it and I need it. I'm all wound up, I might not need one, but if you go, I will. So much I want to share with you. But in looking at, again, now what we call these propagation of ELF waves and so, we understand that at one time on Maldek and Malona, they did the same thing that we're doing. We haven't come too far. In fact, many of the souls that are here grew up at one time on Maldek and Malona. Many of the souls on other planets in our solar system did so also, because once they did what they did, they created what would be called karma. And in the Hindu belief, in the Rigveda and the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, they talk about those souls lost to the karma that they created. And those were, again, re-evolving, reincarnating factors from Maldek and Malona. On Maldek, they got good at fusion. On Malona, they got good at fission. So what have we learned? Nothing. It's about the same thing again. You can fuse things together and bring them so much together that they crash and give an explosion. You can fissionable things, blow them apart and get down and then release more energy. Either way, it's using it in the wrong form instead of just leaving it stay as it is. And when you put the two close to each other, getting a whole new form of power, first of all, magnetic energy, and even then, when they're real close and they're high vibrant, you even get to back what we call org energy. All of these things have already been done. All of these things are now being done once more. They had a battle on Maldek and Malona. They both used their fission and fusion principles, and they created a tremendous explosion, a disintegration, and they began to rupture all of the planets in our lower heavens here, which we call the inner planets, as well as the big giant planets outside of it, Jupiter, Saturn. The ring of Saturn was formed from debris of a couple of moons that were around Saturn, and they exploded them when they came around. You also now have what they call the Van Allen radiation belt. Well, before Van Allen, the Austrian and Swiss person was ever born, it was called the electromagnetic field, and composed in many cases of a broken vortex around the planet. And when we have the nebula, the ring nebula, and we begin to get all of these things that are floating around, that is pieces and bits of Maldek and Malona. So that's karmic. Right in our solar system, a catastrophe has happened. Disintegration of the 13th planet. We get a term called triskaidekaphobia, based on fear of the number 13, that 13th planet. People talk about now it's because of something that happened to some of the Masons and the ancient ones here, when they crucified him, no, it had nothing to do with that. It was long before they were ever even thought of. Trichodecaphobia is that fear of the number 13, that 13th planet that messed with a lot of conceptuality and souls here in this system, and many other souls in other systems, because many of them, because of what they did, were banned from the solar system too. Another soul story. Cosmology goes on forever and ever, because the history of our cosmos is most ancient. Once that happened, the disintegration of Marduk and Malona, a lot of water was on Malona, and that water was released in our solar system. A lot of debris from the bigger and larger planet also had chunks of it flying through it. And it wrecked a lot of our planets. It caused havoc with many of our planets. But I want to deal with one that it had havoc in, and that's called Massa, which we now know as Mars. It's had many names also. Different type of folks call it different kind of things, but we're talking about the same planet, Mars. Massa had a very advanced race of people, and they understood well the potential of what could happen there. They tried to send emissaries to Marduk and Malona, as did all the other representatives outside of the system, telling them that what they were doing was going to lead to a catastrophe and to repent, or to get wise and to understand that it could lead to no good. Like now, they wouldn't listen, as they're not listening once again. So, the destruction came. But on many of the higher forms of planets, they were prepared for that destruction. The only reason they didn't interfere because they knew that karma would also involve them, and they learned a long time ago, don't get involved in another planet's goings on because you become part of that going on yourself. And they weren't ready with their evolving spheres and being able to go into higher planets such as Sirius and Andromeda and Tassatari, that they weren't going to do that. So they let them do what they had to do, but then their planet paid the penalty for it. And the penalty that was paid, it sheared off most of the top of Mars, causing a melting of the polar caps of Mars. And since all planets are hollow, they then knew that they had to, as their ancestors do, go to live inside of Mars, which the Martians do to today, still live inside of Mars. Any planet with intelligent life forms does not live on the surface. The intelligent life form goes inside, because under a sun, there are certain things you have to do and obey, and until you can go into a dark world without sun, you have to be sheltered or sought by the sun, but the sun also will produce death. And this is the problem with suns of a lower degree. That's why they tell you there's nothing new under a sun. It can't be anything new because it means you're still fledgling, still babies, because you have to have a sun. You're supposed to make suns and become suns. But right now we're living under a sun, by the way, which there are now two up here. Oh yeah, we're going to cover a lot. As we then saw the debris rain down on the inner planets, it caused havoc on Venus. Now, I would say Pluto because now they give and take Pluto as they would anytime. Sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't. I don't know what your astrologer is going to do with that. It's going to drive you mad because first they say Pluto doesn't exist, and they say Pluto does exist, and they say Pluto is not a planet. Well, there are many planets in the system they still know nothing about. So I don't know what they would argue about Pluto, but let's just be semantic and argue about etymological Pluto. But as we now get back to what happened here on this planet, it rained down salt in the form of water, and that's where you got salt water. This planet had no salt water. This planet had only fresh water, and the creatures here were in fresh water. Whatever you see living in salt water came from another planet. And most of the things on Malona and Mars were influenced by the culture and mind, and therefore you had sharks and octopus and killers, predators, that rained down upon Earth that never were here before. Because under salt water, this is the kind of thing it will cause, because it causes poisonings and acids reactions on the cell, on the membranes, on the DNA, the dinucleic acid, and the RNA, the ribonucleic acid. They all vibrate on a low plane when you have salt around. Salt now will kill you. Salt will make you grow older when you use salt. You use salt very sparingly, and you have to use salt like Epsom salt with a certain charge. Salt is a killer for anything there because the vibrations are acidus, and not one that you should have. Fresh water and distilled water and things like this that we're coming back to as we begin to understand what a wonderful medium water is, that's things of a higher nature evolve in it. And when you drink it, you work it on a higher nature when you have fresh water. The point is now, they polluted this planet so it's hard to get either. It's hard to get any kind of water unless you go through a whole process. Well, they poison the water. This is what happens when you get karmic patterns of low vibrations of people who choose to incarnate on a planet like Earth, and Earth has gone through so much that she's been granted a wonderful dispensation at this time. Earth has been, through the Universal Prime Creator, granted the right to go from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. From the third dimension to the fifth dimension. That's like going into pre-kindergarten into postgraduate school. Never heard of before, but never has a planet gone through so much and still been in existence, hasn't allowed her little cells and wayward cells to kill her yet. Gone through so much, taking in laggards from other planets, taking in evolving, taking in killers, taking in everything else you can. It became a prison planet, a planet of the laggards, and everything and was dumped off here. She took all of that, took her time, and now is going to get the rewards. And if you stay with her, you'll get a reward too. The thing is now being able to stay with this planet before December 21st, 2012. And it's not the Mayan calendar, by the way. There was nothing but agronomists. They weren't even smart enough to make that. And I'm sorry for some of you Latinos that are here. I'm not stepping on any toes. I'll step on everybody's toes nowadays. Because truth is something that you have to cut through. And never come to me, by the way, for truth. Come to me for facts. If we agree on our truths, then it's good. I got a whole statement to make on that one. Now, what does all this have to do with the 18th dynasty, which you've been asking me to do, which Brother Hashi helped to bring me in and bring with Brother Marvin, Brother Rich? Everybody keeps saying they want to hear the 18th dynasty. Well, I thought it'd be about 5 times more of you here just to hear that 18th dynasty. But I understand some other things were going on. So again, I thank you for taking the time to choose Blair today and then somebody else tomorrow. With that in mind, I'm leading all of this because unless I gave you this background, what I'm going to tell you about the 18th dynasty wouldn't make any sense. Or it would, and then you'd have to go to some other scholar to explain something else. You still may do that. That's your choice. But at least I'll give you my version of what those other scholars are going to tell you as to why Kemet came about. So after all of this transfiguration went on here on this planet, and life forms from other planets had to begin to adapt to this planet, and this planet had to take on a whole thing. This planet went through a curse. This planet had to go through tons of floods because all that flood came from the waters from Maldek and Malona, that was stripped off of Mars. That's why everything could live here, because it erupted in so much things raining down on Earth and Venus till everything could come here now. It was a mess. Whoever heard of planets with all kind of races? Supposedly planets have one race and maybe one pet. And many of them don't want pets. In other words, you have one race of people and then somebody or something that they like and they call a pet, like a dog, cat, monkey, whatever you want. Okay? Planets don't have multiracials like this. This is a prison planet. This is a zoo. This is a planet that is stretched beyond imagination. It's right to be loved by the Universal Creator because she is sure inspired as a female incarnation. She's sure gone through a lot. So we have all of this here, and we haven't made it too well. We don't get along too well on this planet. Well, we did because we're not under a auric field or a magnetic field. We're under an electrical field with differences that are miles long in the way we look. And then beside that, we have what is called egg-borns and womb-borns. And egg-borns and womb-borns have always had problems getting along because one has a soul, the other doesn't. Egg-borns don't have souls. Or if they do, it's just newly acquired souls on this genetically manipulated planet, and they don't know what to do with them because now they come into consciousness of deeper things, and they weren't used to that. So, we have a mess here. A mess that is now being straightened out once again. This time, seemingly, to straighten out is going to be good. This time, it's going to work. Why? Because the Universal Prime Creator has said so, and the gods are going to obey the Universal Prime Creator's will. And we've had many gods. A god is nothing but a scientific element or someone with a little bit more sense that comes around people with a little bit less education and lords it over them. So they call it lordy, lord it over, so on like this again, lords and gods and so. You are a god. You are gods unaware. But until the God faculty is developed, you're God's unaware. So if you don't know powers that you have and don't use them, what good are you? You're just here learning, like me and like us. But now, the wisdom is coming back, and you're going to see things now that you don't ever believe you would have, but hoped in your heart you might. Because what is happening now is that veil is being lifted. That right brain of yours is going to kick in, which is universal. Knowledge that you didn't know you had when it's leaks through a genius. Again, they say that person is a child prodigy or genius. It wasn't a genius or child prodigy. That right brain was opened up and they didn't forget. The veil of Maya on something run by electricity like this planet kills that ancient thought. It kills the receptors that have memory. And that's why it's hard. Every cell has a membrane. That means a memory brain. That's what's around all cells. Each cell, therefore, has a memory of what to do, and a receptor to do what your mind tells it to do, but when you lose your mind and don't, it will do what it wants to do, becoming a free radical and cancerous. And that's exactly what most people are, free radicals and cancers running around on the planet, forgotten who they are and the God within them. When we are dealing now with the 18th dynasty, and I'm not talking about Ramesses, who yes was black, if we want to use a collective term, Negroid. We're talking about Tutankhamun, Akhenaten, Nefertiti, Ai, Mut, all of the ones that everybody, when you just mention their name, there's fascination about what these people were and what these people are and why they do what they do. Well, they were, they are, and will be part of you because you carry their genetic structure. This is why you're here. This is why you want to study the Kopara, and study the Sephirah, and study the Hamahaba, and to study the texts that they tell you were ancient. This is what you're drawn for, because you are an amalgamation of all of them, because you're universal souls. And the souls being born now on this planet are crystals. The souls born from about 62 to about 87 were indigos. And the souls before that, you were just anxious, volunteered, and sometimes wish you hadn't, but you were driven to come back and get things straight because you wanted to move on with the great new beginning of Earth. So the souls coming in here now are very advanced souls. They're old souls. They're born now with eyes open and spines erect. They're here talking in the womb. They're here communicating. They will bring in the kind of knowledge and wisdom that we've been wanting for. And you who birthed them, either through your seed and sperm or through your egg and receptivity, are part of them too. And that's why when they're coming in, you have to clean up your act. You can't go with the old lies again because they can tell you're lying in the womb and they try to correct whatever you lack. For them to come through, hopefully, an opening, and therefore to give them pablum and formulas is stupid. And worse than that, it's dangerous because if you take them to the hospitals, our great con receptors here, those interceptors of our genetic plasma, will give them shots and kill off their psychic ability. Everything you do now is going to require a shot because they got to dumb you down. No, most of us are dumbed down, brainwashed, comatose, inoculated, vaccinated, and encrypted, and two of which makes you useless to a spiritual society. And they don't want any spiritual society people coming in now because these are the advanced gods coming back again. When they are amongst, things change. When they're doing what they do on this planet, the planet will change. Everybody wanted to know where beautiful brother Obama and how is he going to be president. Read back my old tapes there again. They're going to make him president because they needed a black man to run the planet. Not because they loved him. They knew what the rights of these other terrestrials told them. They know what the people in space said. We're not going to trust anybody that does not have melanin to run your planet anymore. So he had to be. But be careful what you get. And be careful what you ask for. Because you might get more than either thought of. Right now, you can be directed by consciousness and thought. You need to think of him every day in the most, surround him with light and make him worship that melanin and honor that melanin. Because they'll take it away from him, and the most dangerous thing he could have done is where he went now, the seat and home of the Dracons. Mm-hmm. Eating, drinking there, shaking hands there, and holding the mother, the Holy Mother, if you want to call her that. But outside of Mahat and Tehuti, and outside of Asur and Oset, and all out of the ancient gods who are in name elements, that they were trying to tell you that an element can come into a carnage, or a miscarnage, or a direct carnage, simply meaning it can come into karna and reincarnation. So when the elements come into combinations, they make gods of those elements, but the more you have a certain elements, the better you can become maybe a god. That's why gold is worshipped, because gold lets you use the hypothalamus, the pineal and pituitary gland correctly, and lets each of your cells vibrate at 121 megahertz. That's why they wanted gold. This planet was abundant in gold. That's why everything could come here, and almost everything has. Wanting the gold. It wasn't just the little gremlin, or what is it again, the guy from Ireland that wanted the gold. Wasn't just that, because gold has a high vibration. It allows you to reach higher vibration and allows all of your cells to operate on a higher frequency, up to 121 megahertz. But not in the form that you put it into a vault in a gold brick, get a little piece of paper that says it's up there and how much it's worth, and then kill each other for it. No. In fact, it's supposed to give life, give you higher life, unite your mind, body, spirit, and soul, and lets you astral travel and travel to other dimensions while still in the flesh. That's its true usage. So when you have all of this being brought back, and have people now trying to understand what's going on, it becomes kind of deep. But it's like a deep, wonderful puzzle that you're anxious to tackle, because this is the time you've been waiting for. This is what you wanted. This is what you've asked for. And again, what did I say about asking for it? You may get it. But with it comes a big package. Bigger package than some of you thought you were going to grocery shop for. And food stamps nor printed fiat money will not buy it. The food of the gods is love and life. That's what the gods live on, and if you're going to be a god, you better learn to get a lot of life and a lot of love. And if you get it, you better be able to return it, to let that flow not tear you apart. Right. Because the highest love, you're going to have to open up heart, not just the mind, but the heart, to receive that, and receive it in a way that can be distributed throughout your chakras. Our planet has chakras just like you have chakras. They didn't teach you that. You got 12 chakras operating, although they tell you 7, and you got 12 dimensions on this planet, although they tell you none. They don't even talk about dimensionality. They study that in plasma science, plasma physics. In other words, why don't they just come out and say it? Metaphysics. But they don't want to use that word, so what do they tell you? What are the words they use? What do they call this thing? Plasma science, and it's another one they use. It's just so much just like metaphysics, meta-science. But that's what meta-science is. Meta means above, and physics means science, if you're going to go by the Greek. It means above thinking, higher consciousness of subjects and elements. And when you think like that, then you're thinking in the realms that control the lower chakras and the lower sciences. When Earth did take in all of these other things from these two exploded planets and began to rebuild herself, obviously the floods are talking about when all this rain and salt water came down, wiping out everything on Earth. And then these new creatures begin to grow, and the old creatures that were taken inside the Earth began to resurface. You had life forms now that were amalgamated, and open sesame, an open door to bring in other life forms from other planets, because it already had been brought here. In Kemet, and that area has had many names, Al-Kibulan, well, I don't even go on. Most of you are aware of them again. It's now generally called Egypt, and it is the heart of the Great Pyramid. In the 18th dynasty, it is said to be the heyday of Kemet, or the heyday of Egypt. Why? What was so great and so different about that was before and that has come afterwards? It's this, that there is a time when extraterrestrials, terrestrials, and interterrestrials ruled at the same time on the surface of Earth. I didn't say anything about aliens. I said terrestrials, extraterrestrials, and interterrestrials. I have 2 tapes out called T's. T's 1, T's 2. Terrestrials, extraterrestrials, and aliens. An alien is anything that's intelligent, in any form, and there are thousands of forms of aliens out there. From praying mantises to things that, well, you imagine it, and that's what's out there. A alien being anything that is intelligent, a extraterrestrial being one that's a little bit more intelligent than a terrestrial, that can live in the heavens or in the earth, and has. A terrestrial human is almost like an oxymoron. Human is animal man. No, I know you say, no, Blair, it's H-U-E, hue. That had nothing to do with the hues of planets. Hue meant animal. It was the animal god, hubris. And and to control the animal kingdom, in which many of these scientists from other planets mixed your DNA with other creatures on this earth and made the body that you're in now. If you doubt that, look at your hands, look at your feet, look at your body. Some people suffer from what's called psoriasis, scaled skin. But you can see the little scales or little elements there, the many cells that are on your front of your hand, and the smooth palm, top of your feet, and the smooth foot. Some people have codification. They have, again, a 33rd vertebra, which led to tails. Some people have horn patches, where you used to have horns. Most of us now, and this is one of the things they don't tell a lot of you ladies again, have gills. They have what is called the parathyroids. They don't know what they're for. And in many cases, because of that, the thyroid, which a woman has 2 lobes on it, requires more iodine from the time that you were from Oasis and the fish planet.
No.
And they don't tell you that. They don't tell you then why breast cancer is screaming through now. And they don't tell you why they're making a whole sea of energy up there, spraying every day with chemtrails. See, all of this stuff doesn't make sense till you get the background of this planet. That's why I'm spending so much time with you there. You've asked me to do it, and I'm doing it for free today. Meaning it's for free, I'm doing this as part of your lecture on just Kemet, because Kemet makes no sense unless you understand what is around Kemet, just one of many ventures. And the last time when the extraterrestrials and terrestrials tried to get together and make this a good planet, a wonderful planet, which she was born at, because she inculcated and incubated all kinds of souls. And I don't know if I was a woman, if I could do that, but she has, and she still tries. Just let's give her a lot of recognition today and every day for being a planet that has put up with you for the longest. In the 18th dynasty, there is a mystery and there is history. His story is what you always study but now know better than. And my story, which is your story, is what we will hear now. Are you still with me? His story tells you that in Egypt there were many dynasties, and that the dynastic people finally fell, and that they are now the Arabs that live there only, and that all the things that happened up there were built, and that the pyramid, of course, was built by over 20 years by slaves working night and day with ropes and brick and mortar or whatever else they used, and they built this great pyramid for somebody to be buried into. And it's because these kings were very egotistic and they spent all their lives having pyramids built to their edifices. Such baby talk, such foolishness, such low down lies. And it's got to be lies if you think that that was done by some king for 20 years and then other kings tried to emulate him. The Great Pyramid is an edifice built by engineers, technicians, and metaphysicians from 3 different planets that came together here to duplicate what was done on Massa or Mars, what is done on Sirius A and B, what's done in Arcturus and Andromeda. It was a link to the chain of higher evolving souls, because it was a way to get the souls to evolve a little bit quicker on a planet that had gone through so much confusion, to help these people get faster, quicker. And so they built one of the great edifices that they have in about 3 different galaxies, and at least on about, I think it's about 250 different planets have those pyramid structures, including Mars. It is a device by which the soul can travel while still being in the flesh on one planet, as long as they can go to a series of these conduits and conductivities called pyramids. By the way, they are not called pyramids by the builders. They were called pyramids by the Greeks, who used the word pyramus and pyramusica, which mean that goes straight up. It's almost like you had a smorgasbord and you had this big stick that you stick tomatoes and potatoes on and you fry it. That's what they refer to that, because the obelisks, which they saw before the Great Pyramid, looked like spirals, looked like pinnacles, and then the pyramid itself, they just carried on. So from the word pyre, to burn with, and to cook within, pyramus, that burns with, that goes straight up. The builders called them mirrors, from which you get the etymological thing, MRS or Mrs. That's where our word Mrs. comes from. Mrs., MRS. They were called MERS, MRS. The MERS are on our moon, the MERS are on this planet. At one time our planet was ringed and still does with MERS to keep this planet balanced because it would have been centered out when a great flood came. So they have MERS all around. There's something called a straight line theory of MERS. And wherever you see a bunch of MERS on one side of the planet, draw a straight line through the planet, architecture, you'll find usually within 2 or 3 miles another planet, another MER complex. It helps to balance the Earth because it gives off energy and conducts org energy. When planets get so out of line, they build them and it helps to stabilize the planet and stabilize the kind of energy that souls coming in with the planet, which has MERS. There's another way of telling if the advanced race has been on there. Look for the MERS. The word Cairo, C-A-I-R-O, is Greek. Anything with C-H in it is not ancient because the Greeks aren't ancient. But they converted the letter K at a time when at one time there was no spoken word, but sounds were used and telepathy was used. But when they began to invent language and speak language again, they began to use the personification of the word K, which meant a standing crane. Standing crane with foot up. That was K's that were used in ancient. They had no vowels in ancient. They were consonants at that time. Not consonant, but consonants. Consonant using the word usage of etymological concept. When they used the K and changed it to a C, they call that city now, the capital, Cairo. Actually, it should be called Cairo, and actually Kahir, K-A-H-I-R. Kahir means Mars. And the city of Cairo was built by the Martians who came here at one time, which we now call Olmecs. Olmecs is not their names. When they were worshipped here in this area, they were Washita Moors. But we'll get back to, no, in fact, let's go there too because there's so much to cover. We're still going to get to the 18th dynasty. This will only make you understand better and embellish what I'm saying that you can then reject or accept. Washita Moors were people which we now call Olmecs because they had to try and hide the history of the Olmecs and say really that they never existed. They were here before the 18th dynasty and helped to establish it. They were here before many dynastic people were here. They were the overlords or the watchers that came from Mars to try and help when they realized what was going to happen on Earth and they didn't want the same thing to repeat itself again. And so they came here to teach and to watch and to try and offset a dreaded enemy of all souls, the Dracons. The Dracons also saw what had happened and figured this was their time to come and take over this planet, which they wanted for a very long time, because that's what they do. They travel in various galaxies. They're draconic. They look like upright walking serpents and dinosaurs, and they combine with another group of people, and they are a group of conceptualities or structures or life forms, and they take over planets. They love that. Since this planet was also then going to suffer heavy karma, they figured they could also work with that one too. So, these pyramids built by these Moors, built by these Olmecs, built by these prehistoric people, were very, very, very specially designed metaphysically. What they did was simply to allow the soul, which was in the bodies now that were being incubated on this planet, to leave the body, travel wherever the soul wanted to go, and still come back to its karmic pattern, the planet by which it was made to be born, or chose to be born, or had to be born. It was a vehicle for astral projection and soul travel. In what is called now the King's Chamber is a sepulchre of granite, which creates piezoelectricity and can work from org energy to magnetic energy. That's why it had a structure built above it. There is a pyramid in the form too, And that's the best shape to conduct organic energy in a pyramid shape. That's why over the king's chamber there was a sepulcher which the person could lie into. Above it was this amplification tower, this pyramid V shape. I have to use a board here too, but we'll do it in a second. And therefore, when he lay in there, that person then could go into a sleep state, astral project, and the soul body could leave. But to do so, they had to guard the body, because if the soul returned, and time was so different, who knows what age the soul might return back from, and not everybody was given the vehicle of life to travel into. Only special persons that so qualified. So it was released of what is called the Ka and the Ba, the spirit and the soul. And the text of that was which was called the Kabbalah. And how to do so and why to do so, and the gods that were there was the powers that you had to utilize in the chakras in order to do so. And then you have to have the waiters and the attendants, the watchers, to make sure that when that person was taking that journey, they could still return here if necessary. And if they were gone for a long time, the watchers set up canoptic jars and put the entrails of that body so that if they did return at a later time, they could still duplicate themselves or have their ancestors to duplicate them, because every cell was a duplicate of the person left. Every cell has a membrane and the codification of being able to reproduce that person. That's why you had the entrails left in those jars. You can produce a billion touch today, and by the way, they're trying to. A billion Ankhnatons of different Nefertitis. A billion eyes, hope maybe about 3 billion Imhoteps, a little bit wiser, and be able to do the same thing on this planet that they've been able to do. Because, as they now know, you can duplicate with just one DNA cell your whole body. Well, think what you could do with canoptic jars and replacing organs and stuff. You just regrow them. They were left right there because they had that kind of science. We were just rediscovering it, not even understand what we're discovering when we redo something. Nothing new about it. It's ancient knowledge and wisdom that were taken away, and the teachings were taken away when people were not allowed to then learn things that were really science. Science means to know. Most scientists don't, or they won't, because they can't get tenure, they can't get funding, and they're afraid to go against their peers. So truth can't come out until you go within and pull it out, because you're as capable of scientific discovery as they are, probably better, because you're searching for truth. They know the truth and hide it. Give you the shots to make you the followers, instead of the leaders and understanders. What does this now have to do, since I put all the rest of this around, with that 18th dynasty? Teasing you a little bit. Now we'll get into it as I understand it. And again, believe this, there is no truth till you decide what truth is. These are my truths. They don't necessarily have to be your truths, but I give you explanation as I understand it to you. Ankhenaten was a name given to Amenhotep IV and III. And he had been a general and a warlike person, so on like that. He went into the last battle that he carried on was in Taxila. And he met the Phraotes of Taxila, by which the word Phraotes or Pharaoh came about. Not before he made that journey was there Pharaoh. Don't get confused on that. Phraotes was in Taxila, which was in Singapore and in China, where he journeyed to and found the whole teachings of Buddha and later on Krishna, which they knew nothing about. And the Buddhas are what you see behind me. They are the chief gods of all religions on this planet when you take them back. And that's the ones that you see right over there. Those are then the ancient ones that taught about what we now call collectively the Olmecs, that they came here and taught all the races of man that were worthy, and taught them to have no religion, and taught them not to worship them, but that each one of them was important because their souls may have come from other planets, but they were here to learn, and the quicker they learned, the better they could ascend. None of them asked to be worshipped. People worship what they fear or don't understand or want to be. They didn't say worship them, people deify them. But look at the deities that they used. On the board up there that you see are what they call from Buddha and Buddha, which means the black. You have Fuxi there from China. You have Dagha from Japan. You have Kar. You have Moses. You have Zeus. You have Apollo. You have Krishna. You have Athena. You have Isis. You have Lao Tse. You have Quetzalcoatl. You have Ixtioten or Satan. You have Kalesh. you have Elsum, you have Circe, Yajin, and Delphi. All of those on the male triplicates are body, spirit, and soul of a male incarnate. All of them had things in common. They all looked negroid and had melanin. All the gods and all the leaders and avatars of all religions all had melanin and looked negroid except one, and that's the one where most of you worship to in Apollo, which in itself is a derivation because he also was black and his name was Apollonius. Later on called by many other names, but they changed all of that because they got tired of everywhere they looked at negroid gods and even the relics and basalt heads everywhere, and they said we must find ourselves. So, in following the Dracon's orders, they changed it to get religion so that you would not look inside for yourself, but would look to somebody else to lead you, and therefore forget to start working on your own DNA first. That was the diffusion, as all religions are diffusions. In the rule of Akhenaten, after he learned these other truths and saw these other Buddhas and these so-called Negro-looking people, the Negroid-looking people, not Negroid, he came back and he got through fighting. He went into meditation, and so much had been revealed that it shocked him, and he even told about the inner earth beings there, and he said, if this is the case, I cannot continue to make karma on my life, and I must create dharma. He was also taught karma and dharma. Karma, that what you do, you get back, an eye for an eye, and you get away with nothing until it's corrected. Dharma, that as soon as you understand mentally what you've done, there's no need to go to it on a physical plane, but one more time, one more reincarnation, to make sure, when put down there with all the temptations, the worst thing you can do, being put on this planet Earth in a physical form, to see if you can now do what you said you would do. But Dharma, which they don't teach, is mental understanding and spiritual awakening, which creates no karma, and obviously a karma of ignorance. Except one more time. And on the physical plane, when you try it, that's when you really find out what you think you can do. Can you really do it? Under the pressures on this planet, which has, to say, all kind of races and all kind of temptations and all kind of low vibe and everything. So if you can do it here, what you said you'd do there in your heavens, then you can make the grade. So as you're all caught up in karma, remember Dharma, which was a higher form of karma, and obviated the need for karma one time. Dharma is mentally understanding, so you don't have to physically go through it. And the beautiful thing is our cells have Dharma karma too. This is how you can begin to cure yourself when you begin to understand what real cell structure is and what real dis-ease is. They took away that teaching too. Where you can begin to cure yourself by getting rid of the karma in the membranes of your cells and creating Dharma there. This is why I teach meditation as it should be taught, as I understand. It's not ego. It's come from a lot of sacrifice and a lot of meditation myself. So far I'm guided, and we have two forms of that, which I use in workshops. With all of that now as a tangent and fulcrum and base, Akhenaten came back into Egypt, which was not called Egypt at that time, but came back into that land and began to reteach the people, much to the horror of the priest of Amun, who all priestcraft loved that ego. They loved to be worshipped, tied, worshipped, sexed, and loved, and everything else. It's freebies when you're a priest. It's freebies when you are a spiritual leader. At that time, they misused it. I don't know that they always do that, but I say it's a temptation. Because when people go without to get a third party to take them to the Creator, you will create a reverend, a priest, a minister, a leader, or a kapahisis. You will create something that you have to go through, when really you don't have to go through anything. But through the trauma of trying to understand self and the meditation of reaching inside you for your Creator. So therefore, when he came back talking about there was one God only, Aton, and to atone for what you've done, to Aton, and that Ra and Aton, the sun god, were one, and that all they had to do was go within and meditate, the priest of Amun said, oh no, this guy came back, he's a mess, let's kill him. They said, if we kill him, we'll be dealt with. Because he was still a revered leader, a general. And so they didn't know what to do with him. Here comes back this guy going out killing, slaughtering, and making Egypt go. And now comes back and tells everybody, go inside, start meditating, pray to the one within you, get off this planet, become somebody. So what do they have to do? It took him a long time, but they said, we got to get rid of this guy. First of all, they thought they could tip him a little bit more. Well, he had all the women he ever wanted, had children by many, but he came back with a hunger now for the truth of the Creator, the One, and came back to spread that to his people. So they said, when we can, we must get rid of him, but how do we get rid of him? So as the tithing fell off and their power lost, the priest of Amun just kept conspiring. What can we do with him? In his journeys back from Taxila, Akhenaten met Nefertiti, a queen and a princess in her own right. Now some say she was a dancer, and that he just picked her up on the streets, so on and so forth again. You get all kind of background with Nefertiti. Whether she was a dancer, whether it was somebody he met, she had one thing in common with him, a long head, and he knew that he had found his own. Because Akhenaten had one of the longest heads you could see in the world. Because Akhenaten was a strong statued person. Akhenaten stood, unlike what they're showing, up to 12 feet tall. They show him as a little sarcophagi, per se. No. Akhenaten was already of the ancestral blood of the ancient ones. This is why he was such a commanding leader. And because of that, he had the telltale mark of an elongated occipital lobe. When he and Nefertiti mated, it is said that they produced Tutankhamun. Now, there are rumors to the side of that one. I'll beat you to it. That there was incest going. Is that all extraterrestrials use incest in order to keep their bloodline pure. And that he was a product of his mother. I can't think of his mother's name. They'll come back to me now. What? Who? T. All right, yeah. And that there was a process of prodigy and incest there. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But most people here who want to keep their bloodlines pure will use incest, especially the Dracons. That's one of their heavy things. But it was said that that was done too. So whether that's true or not, we can still let it go. But either way, Tutankhamun was also born with a long head, but not as long as his father Akhenaten, or if it was his mother Nefertiti. Queen Tai, possibly. Either way, that was a big thing between Nefertiti and Tai, simply because Nefertiti said that Tutankhamun was not her son. And Tai would not admit to incest, and yet the Tai supposedly was the mother. Not just his mother, but supposedly the mother of his son. If this is true and they were trying to keep the bloodlines pure, I still accept it. Whether I accept it or not, it is done. But I give you both sides of the story. Take which one you want. But either way, King Tut, or Tut, was very much wanted and was born psychic and had the marks of an awakened pineal gland. He also, understanding who he was at birth, because he was an advanced spirit, also probably understood the killing of his father, Akhenaten, who said was poisoned by an asp, in many cases by Nefertiti, who supposedly followed the priest of Amun's rule and saw to his death. Whether that's true or not, or whether the priest of Amun simply killed him and then held over Nefertiti, again, this concept of if you tell, we'll kill you too. Either way, something there happened. They got rid of the last one of the extraterrestrials that ruled us here, and problems began to arise because now the priest caste said, what was done here will never be done again. If we're going to hold power, we can never let a king usurp our authority. King Tut married, or took unto him a woman. You don't talk too much about her. Her name was Ankhesenama, and some call it Ankhesenama, whichever way you would, or moon. Remember again that the vowels in many cases were not used, so consequently with Ankh, period, spelled with an A, something is wrong. But anyway, that's best to pronounce her name, whether it be Ankhesenama, whether it be Tutankhamun, or so whatever you would. One thing that bothers me is the fact that they pronounce his name Tutankhamun, or Tutankhamun, if you would. Tutankhamun, whichever you would. Any pronunciation of that has got to be wrong, and I'll tell you why. His father, Akhenaten, and Atan, one who served the one, this is why he named himself, and Ankh being the way of serving any, as I explained to you, the Ankh power as we begin. That means, again, one who can let the power of light and the power of the Creator flow through them into the one. Either way, He and the priest of Ammon were at war with each other. The people kept him alive and separated from the priest of Ammon, but the priest of Ammon did not like what he represented. This I went through before. Therefore, why would he name his son Tut-Ammon after the priest of Ammon, who is diametrically opposed to him and his teachings? One of the curses there is that his name is not Tutankhamun, it is Tutankhamun. So in pronouncing for the priestcraft, you take away from the holy, spiritual one God. The name Tutankhamun would mean false teachings. The name Tutankhamun would mean one who serves the one and is son of the one. So again, this is my concept, my understanding. No truth to you, decide what truth is. So now you have one of the other deeper mysteries of the mispronouncing of the name and the use of the pyramid and the use again of the understanding of how many children. And of course, by the way, Akhenaten had many children, had many wives. Most of his children were long heads also. That's why when they show you the cut-off relics, when they have the kippah and other sharakat and whatever you actually call it, have on their head, they never show you that full head. And they say that when they showed him with the long head, it was stylized drawings. This is the way the historians bring it out. That they took liberty with their bringing. Didn't take liberty, they had long heads. They were extraterrestrials. And one of the reasons why they had such a long head is because they had in that hind head memories and the ability to speak languages, and more of that, the ability to use metaphysical principles by using thought and thought control and thought transfers and meditation. That was the last of the long heads. And that's why you can also tell that they were extraterrestrials at least, if you would. In lying in the sarcophagi and in the king's chamber, they produced what would be called the Merkaba. And the Merkaba simply breaks down into myrrh. As we say, the pyramids were generators of myrrh. They were myrrhs themselves, which means a vehicle that can produce energy, or a flowing of energy, or the waters of energy, which now is called the waters of life. It's the book of the knowing, the book of the becoming, the book of knowledge, the book of the waters of life. All of these were part of the Kabbalistic series. And it showed you simply just how to begin to use these energies while on the physical body and in the physical plane. So in using this, when they lay in there and released the Merkaba, it was able then to go to any planet where the energies were right for them. Distance meant nothing, because wherever you can think of, and mind control and mind power, that's where you are. Mind travel is instantaneous. It takes no time to get there. It might take time to adapt to what your mind now sees there, but getting there is nothing. Think of it and you're there. That is a power of creation and a power of thought forms and a power of light. It is faster than the speed of light and faster than any other technology. For thought has no beginning or end. Thought has no travel parameters. Thought is. Where you think you are, you are. The thing is to knowing where you think you are and what to see there. And therein comes the problem. Because you now have to go to where you don't know, because inwardly you do know, but don't know how to get there. That's why your mind can become confused. And the mind is to the soul as the brain is to the body. Behind the brain is mind. They don't say brain power. They now say mind power. Mind control. Concentrated mind. And that's what you must use. Once again, get rid of all your enemies and make things right by concentrating your thought of power. But you have to have a planet that can carry that thought. That's why you're using the chemtrails to stop you from it. And you have to have the ability to understand what thought can do and what pure mind power is. And augmenters like pyramids, the things that can help you to do that. That's why they built them. And that's how they were built, with mind power. Levitation and the whole bit that goes with it. Because it's over magnetic anomalies, it is the power of thought, by which all things are thought into being, and which you can then create by thought. If you look at the root word conception, it means to conceive mentally. You think it's just uterus and sperm and egg and so on, zygotes? No. It is to conceive in the mind first. For what you think is what you bring. And what you don't think is what you bring. It's all psion, kion, to know. And the consciousness of the scientist to know what you want and how to bring it about. I'm going to begin to kind of whittle down, because there's so much I could talk about, but I'll simply say this in summation. What I try to present in a very broken down form to let everybody understand it. I didn't say believe it, I said understand what I'm saying. and to give you a picture of what we're up against and what now we're actually beginning to release, what has happened on this planet in our solar system, what will be happening, and what is happening presently. It is that our planet is going to a planet that's theta. While still in a solar system, meaning a sun system, we're going into a theta dimension, a dimension of thought, the fifth dimension. For this planet to be doing that and you to stay on it, you're blessed. Because it's what you always wanted in the deep parts of your soul, what you always have dreamed of and tried to create within your consciousness. And if you can do that, you can stay part of this planet. Already, people see shadow people, things at the corner of their eyes. I know it. You don't have to tell me. I know it. I know where you are. You have a 12 spectrum light, ultraviolet, infrared. Some things exist on each of those spectrums, but you were built just to see the ones in the middle. Now, as you expand your consciousness, you get glimpses of things. You see shadow people. You see things that are coming about. You perceive light people. They're discovering planets now that have always been there. But the frequency of us was so low, we couldn't see them. Now they say we discovered them. It's like Columbus discovered America. I got a whole thing on Christopher. Who discovered what? But at any rate, all this, I can't call it idiotic, I just call it this juvenile type of thing we call history here. With people who would not know, were not all-knowing, and who sought to teach those who forgot who they were, therefore they were teachable. You're now rebellious. You don't want to be taught by falseness anymore. Therefore, you got to go within and find out what you should have known anyway, and this time bring it out. That's why the use of metaphysics now, and the use of going inward for thought and meditation is coming back, because everything you want to know is already in you. You just got to remember how to get it, and you don't get it by going to psychiatrists and taking pharmaceutical drugs, because that's going to make you forget even more. That'll make you what they call schizophrenic. That'll give you albinism. That'll give you, what's this other thing they call it, ADD, attention deficit disorder. That'll give you everything. Because your disorder is that you're getting the order in line and they don't want you to. So now they got to shock you back, electroshock, and give you drugs, so you might not remember who you were, because if you did, you might not respect them. It's all to be. You can't change it. But it's just a matter of how much do you suffer, or how much do you become glorious in understanding who you were and overstanding what they've done. Once you do that, then the true consciousness that is in you comes out. Fail to do it, and you become pawns of them, fighting their wars, voting for who they select, eating their foods, taking their drugs, and going crazy. As crazy as those who made you and want to remake you into the image of them instead of the image of your Creator, which is in you. Your image is on the board. Each one of those is a god. But they all stem from the Moors, M-U-U-R-S, the Olmekians, as you call them, the Washita Moors, that again came from the Moria, inhabited first by the Martians that came here, in which all the continents had different names. One of the oldest names for the United States is Encalia. Urigar. Where are some of the others again? They've got, I forget now. I forget what Mexico was out there. Mesoamerica was called. In fact, America was another name that was invented. Americus Vespucius. This was not called America. Everything here has been changed. And there's a brother who was going to introduce me but forgot, but who I love for what he has said because he's in research and is also part of the same concept that all of us must awaken now. This is what we must understand about the Americas, and I won't tread in this water. It's my intuitive water, as you can see. You didn't talk about that. But at the same time, you're right. At least you have my truth and I have your truth, and we share it. The Americas are misnamed. This was called Algonquin, one of the oldest names, of Gautama, Norte and South Gautama, and of course the same thing that we're talking about now, the most ancient of names here, Encalia. But in Mesoamerica and the Americas, which ran from Nome, Alaska, all the way down to Venezuela and Argentina, all of that you have Olmekian heads, if you want to call them Olmecs. You have these great big 30-foot, 30-ton basalt heads. They're granite. They're everywhere. But you have the same heads in Angkor Wat, in Thor Wat, in Cambodia and Laos. That's one of the reasons why they went over there in Vietnam, is because they wanted to blow. Why did they blow up all the black Buddhists the Negroid, the Buddhists in Afghanistan, all 5 of them? Why are they hiding Cambodia and Laos down there where the people still worship you? Or worship what you should be if you understand who you were, and now coming to knowing of who you are. Everybody awaits your awakening, except you. Here, that's not the truth, but you know 3 people that are because they were in church today. So consequently, let's just not talk about what we should do, let's talk about what we didn't do and start to do it. Let's begin to understand and unfurl all of this confusion, because if you don't, the planet is going to leave you behind, because your vibrations will be false, because your pineal gland will not function correctly, because you're taking the drugs and teaching and thinking on the wrong octave, and you will die. In summation, in my last 10 minutes, we now have 2 suns. We are a binary star-sun system. Why don't the astrologers, astronomers, meteorologists, and this other form of creature that is out there tell you about that? The astrologer won't, because they don't know, and they have to now rewrite some of their astrology. They need to do that anyway. That book out called 12 Challenges to Astrology. The astronomer won't, because the astronomer now has got to revise all of their things. That's why they give you and take Pluto, but they don't tell you about the 12 planets you have, even with Pluto. Trying to make room for it, talking about Nibiru coming again, or Nibiru, or Neb-Eru, recruiting pronunciation. They're, what can I say, the archaeologists, well not the archaeologists, this is other one. They got the meteorologists, they got astronomers, there's another form of this creature called scientists that do it. None of them are going to tell you about a binary star system. As I've told many of you, so much so that the brother the other day when I came back said, man, you know, Blair, you can prove that 2 suns. You just flip to what do you call it, the cell phone, and you take a picture of it and you can see it. And I smiled. I said, do you know who told people that? I said, I did. Oh man, I didn't know that was from you. I thought, and then he began to name another brother who was well known, and another brother who was well known. I said, you ask him who told them. Again, it is not that I am great, it's not that I have a big ego. I am a student of metaphysics for 50 years. Some of them weren't even born when I was studying. And I have not lost any ounce of intelligence. I still think, and I still have a brain, and I still try. So I'm still researching. Plus, as you know, I'm a contactee. That came out here in New York way back in 1992. So if anybody should know, having talked to some of the brothers, it should be me. I didn't lord over it, I didn't run on it again, but they led me into a lot of knowledge. They led me into metaphysics. So consequently, I know what I'm talking about. But there is no truth to you decide if what I'm saying is true. And that can only come from your wisdom, your introspection, and your conception of what is or is not. The second sun is magnetic in intensity. It is highly magnetic. It now is merging with your own sun, or what we call the first sun that we have. When those 2 suns come together, they will knock out everything electrical, so start preparing for brownouts and blackouts. They're inevitable. And when it really gets so bad that nothing electrical will work, and you can't get refrigeration in the summertime, or get heat in the wintertime, you better be to some place that you've decided, or somebody better come and call you by that consciousness you know and take you somewhere to help you off this planet, in this planet, or around this planet. Because on this planet, the service will be hell. The hell of unknowing, the hell of paying penalties for all the ignorance that has been possessed here, and getting rid of a form that holds all advanced souls back, electricity. Electricity is on its way out. Face it. Change is coming about. But not Putin, Obama, or any other kind of change. It's a change that will come with anybody who understands that this planet is tired of the foolishness, with or without you, is going forward, and hopefully with you if you are an awakened soul. I know I've said a lot. I know I've hurt some people. I made others laugh and feel good. Either way, what I'm trying to do is be a good teacher, a good student, and no one masters metaphysics, especially not me. I thank you very much for your attention.
Give Dr. Blair another warm black hand. Some questions from the audience.
Well, let me say this first. After that dissertation, that sharing, that vocabulary in which the brother not only spoke in English, but used many of the ancient script. I would never reflect on that one. At any rate, you're right, he got carried away. But in getting carried away, and I say why he's here, he got carried away because there's a spirit moving within him, there's a spirit moving on the planet. And what I will agree with him on, and most of the things he did, I did understand, and when I didn't understand it, I could only listen and wonder, make me go study some more too, I can tell you that. But either way, that Bible is definitely not what it seems to be. And it is a book of magic. And the Old Testament, if you notice, is different from the New Testament now. And the whole book's missing, got 186 books, and the whole book's missing, got 186 books missing out of there. The only book in it that holds true is the book of Revelation, which is not written by St. John the Revelator, but by Apollonius of Tyana, a black man. So, as I say, so much is going on, and when you get so much at one time, I'm hoping that you didn't eat too much bad food, maybe some of the good anything out there. You best start getting some amount of time to go. When you start going there, you need your vibrations up high because you're opening up channels within the brain. And as I say, the word membrane means memory brain. When you start awakening some of those memories, and you find the truth within yourself, then you're going to have to vibe with those truths, because now, if not, you get diseased. You get imbalanced because in opening, I'm sorry about that, yeah. In opening up one thing, you close up another. So all I'm simply saying is this: you got a spiritual teaching today. You got from the heart, whether again you find truth in it is within yourself. You see, nobody can ever give you truth, but they can awaken concepts that may become truths that were buried in your different parts of your body. So following that was a hard act to follow. I thought I gave you something to think about. Now he gave you something to digest and think some more, and then cook the food in it. So I simply say, let's go back quickly as to some of the things I did say, because you probably got everything I said by now. Oh, I tell you, it's been interesting. Let me tell you, brother there is interesting, he's interesting. A lot on your plate. People are having to express now. Truth is coming out. But there's no truth till you decide what truth is. And I'm going to go over that little sheet with you once more again. There's no truth until you decide what truth is. And your truth may not be my truth. And my truth may not be yours. But that should not us from searching for the truth, nor inhibit our search for what truth is, because as we diminish what is truth, by holding on to these truths until greater wisdom manifests or supplants what we presently understand is truth, you ascend from involution by cycles to evolution by spirals toward ultimate truth, if consummate truth does exist. So therefore, know on this dimension there is no truth till you decide what truth is. And that's the whole thing about the truth sheet. You don't hear me say the rest of it goes with that again. So I simply say, you got a lot of truths to understand, but they must come from within you. If they come from within you, you will believe them. If they don't, you will have doubt and search for the truth. So never come to me and ask me, well, Blair, is that the truth? I can't give you truth. I give you facts through research that I understand it to be. If it triggers truth within you, you'll know it because it comes from the only source where truth lies within you. Some truths are limited, some truths are not, but they still what you have to work with. So what we covered there was this planet is an old one, this planet is a zoo, this planet is a laboratory, this planet is now graduating from all of that. If you stay with it, you get the double promotion you would have had you not come here. But to stay with it now is going to take every fiber and inch of your being, of your mind, body, spirit, and soul together under your control. Nobody else's control. If you can do that, you can stay here. If you stay here, you will seek heaven and find heaven on earth and in earth and around earth. But if you don't, you will be gone. And I will tell you, the people I'm looking at now, some of you will not be here in about 4 more years. And it won't be because you went to another country. You probably went to a different vesture. Some of you will. But most of you who know people who are not thinking like you, I guarantee you, they will not be here. Whether it comes from the FEMA concentration camps, whether it be telling off the planet, whether it comes from the hospitals that are killing you every day and you're going to them freely and paying them money, whatever it is, you'll take it out. But if you can find the truth, whatever it is within you, and start to resonate that, stop kicking it aside to do something else. It's more important to know who you are at this time than anything else on this planet. If you know somebody else better than yourself, you haven't progressed anywhere. The work starts, and I agree with him, within you. Stop finding criticism and stuff with everybody else and reading all these what Madonna did and didn't do. It doesn't matter what Madonna did and didn't do. What are you doing and not doing? Those things, the sports and everything, is an escape from the trajectory of shining the light within you. It's escape time. They'll pay $1 billion for a quarterback. They'll pay, and you notice again, they built up, what is this guy's name? The Latino guy, third baseman, A-Rod. Paid him $250 million when he first did. They would pay him $5 billion. It wouldn't matter because he's nothing. He's being paid with fiat money to sign you and keep your attention away from where it should be, on yourself. I know people can name every sports team and all the games they want. What difference does it make what games they want? I like the pleasure of seeing them win. I like the pleasure of seeing them lose, but it is not important. The most important thing on this planet at this time is you, what's within you, and what's not within you. So all I was trying to do at the beginning is to tear apart and at the same time put together a piece of consciousness that we all understand, because that was the last time when an earth person, an inner earth person, and a person from off the earth ruled on the planet Earth together, helped people to arise, told people what was really going on within, and that's why you remember. Everywhere when King Tut's tomb come around, people line up. They still don't know why they line up to see that man. Because they line up to see him because in their souls, as reincarnates, they remember that's the last time when we were told the truth, the last time we were told what this planet is, how to get off of this planet, and the fact that this planet is going somewhere, has been somewhere, and will be somewhere, and you are with it. So with that in mind, if you can remember any of the things I said before you took your break, then if you had Q&A on that one, then let's see if we can deal with it somewhat. Oh, that was one other thing too. I didn't finish what I was going to do, but I finished the first part. After that, many of you came up and bought the diodes and all like that. I didn't even get into the reason why you should have them. So you had to ask me then on that one. So what I'm saying to you on the diodes are a gift from the universal creator. They're a gift from the future for you in the present now. And I mean exactly what I said, and I know what I'm saying. They are a gift that can transmute what you can't with your mind at the present time. The poisons and toxins, the MSG, the aspartame, the shots, the ADDA, the no such thing exists as attention deficit disorder, all these makeup things that they have for people with active pineal gland that they want to hold you back on. And if you can begin to use the diodes, they can transmute on the diode plaque. For instance, you put your food on the diode plaque, and it will take poisons and 39 kind of oscillating energy out of the diodes, out of the food, and poisons and radiation out of the food before you eat it. You put this one on a cigarette pack. It takes the poisons and toxins out of it, or whatever kind of funny cigarettes you might be smoking, or whatever other one you might be inhaling. Put this on there first, and it takes the poisons and toxins out of it. Want to give up smoking? Put this on a cigarette pack. Leave it on there 15 to 20 minutes. Don't even tell the person. They now will be smoking, getting no poisons, but they got a psychological high, and that's what they need, to start using the mind instead of some substance that's going to hold you back. We have things here that can transmute. The diode mattress, you lie on it, it will transmute toxins and poisons out of your body. Let me repeat it again. Sometimes I think I say things and people think they understand and they don't. It will transmute 39 to 52 frequencies, depending on a lot of other things, of poisons out of your body as you sleep on it or lie on it. It will not send it to the liver. It will not send it to the lymph system. It will not send it to the fat cells. It will transmute it out of your body. You talk about cleansing in a new beginning, the diode will do that. And the diode mid is for your entire home to put up a protective field around there, 60 yards in all directions again. The gold, no, I did not bring gold, and I was going to tell you this before, because when I bring the gold on an airplane, they will radiate it. And gold will hold high frequency radiation and try to transmute it, so your whole gold would have been poisonous had you got it from me off of that. When we send it to you, we wrap it in Mylar, and I try to get people to buy diodes with it to give it some kind of protection. With me, soon I come through, I'm profiled. So I already know I'm not going to carry anything of too much value on me, and I know if they do it to me, what they're going to do to the luggage. Every time I go through, they got the little stamp on it. We had it looking at. Well, why? Because of my name and because of who they identify me with. So no, you want to go order it off the internet, or when I drive into something, which I'm going to have to start doing that too, it's just a long drive, then I can kind of account for it again, because gold will hold energy, but gold can work up to a frequency of 121 megahertz, the kind of gold I handle. And at 121 megahertz, no bacteria and all in germ can even live, because they can't get that high on there. And somebody had mentioned earlier about transmutating gold, and that there are viruses and stuff that can live into the gold. The viruses cannot live in this gold that I'm using, especially if you then bless your gold when you get it. And that's why we start talking that kind of magic. I said, oh, this brother's going to really go where I wasn't going to go with you. He went further than I could have taken. So it's all good. Everything that's happening here is for consciousness. And now, with all that said, let's go with the questions and comments if there are. See you here. You're going to have to talk loud too, you know, because we don't have a mic there.
Can you elaborate a little more on binary codes?
On binary codes? When did I talk about binary codes?
Towards the end, you're saying,
Binary sources.
Binary sense of the sun.
binary sun.
Thank you, not binary codes. You talk about that, you're talking about digital now. You're talking about analog diode. You're talking then about computer science, and that's a dangerous thing at this time too. But we'll go into that another time. Internet's great, computers are not. When we have two suns now. I'll just leave that one. We have what we call a binary solar system. Binary, which means two, bi. Sirius is a trinary system. I know you said you do. No, they're discovering even another sun now in Sirius. As we raise in vibration, we'll find out that there are many things that we hadn't been seeing we can now begin to see. It simply means when you sit over there in the east, you see the sun going down. You try to look at it, right? It used to rise in the east. Now it's rising in the southeast. It used to set in the west. Now it's setting in the southwest. We're positioning. We're in a photon belt. We're whole things we're seeing now on a different level. But there's another sun just below this one. Before it, when it started out in 2000, the middle of 2003, it was kind of separate from it. Now it's kind of beneath it, and you have to get the whole thing, and you see it. You see that your sun looks bigger now, because it's two suns casting out an auroric field around it, and it's going down. The point to remember is this one was highly magnetic. Ours is going from a very stable to a magnetic. So now we have a lot of magnetism. Magnetism now in our atmosphere coming in, that will work with your pineal gland, that will work with your psychic ability, that will help you to heal faster, that will help everything that you're doing to be more spiritual. Electricity is a danger. You see that ELF, you got the devil incarnate there. Extra low frequencies is the last thing on earth you need, whether it be a magnetic resonance, anything that is extra low frequency is bad for you on this planet at this time. High frequencies, if you can hold them, can help you. This is why magnetism is between org, as I said before, org, magnetism, and electricity. And we're using the lowest one, E, extra low frequency. That's why they want to put in these plasma TVs. They're going to put this box, make you pay $40 for your death. And you're going to buy them too because you want to see close up on hockey and basketball and football and sport and see if you can see an X-rated film. All up close. How close do you have to be? How much light does it have? That light interferes with the pineal gland and the making of melanin. And melatonin is what they teach you to buy. And they don't ask you where you got the melatonin from, but the people that's going to die from this one. Then give it to you a grade that's lower than that. I mean, this is insane what is being planned for this planet. But insanity is what we've always had. Now it's time to get past the insane or understand the insanity. The wrong persons are wearing the lab coats. We're going to have to start wearing the lab coats to put the other ones behind the bars and inmates, because it is madness that has been going on here. This is a time for graduation from magnets again. So simply again, binary simply means we now have two suns. If the Creator so deems, we might have 3 suns, we might have 20 suns. It is not up to you. It's just that the people who have been renting the building, not paying the rent, messing up the plumbing and electricity, cursing and waking everybody up in the neighborhood, they got to go. Now, do you go with them, or do you take a stand and stay away from them? It's dangerous to take a stand, but believe me, it is more dangerous to go with them because you don't want to go through what they're going to go through. But everything now is going to get a cleansing. To the degree that you first cleanse yourself and qualify, is to the degree that it helps you less. You either do it now or do it later. You get rid of the, what do they call those things now again? Those, can't even think of the name. Those things that grow within you. It'll come back. I don't want to search for it again. Not just tapeworm, there's a classification for the whole thing. Parasites. They are parasites, and you got to get rid of them. If you eat enough of the parasitic food, you are a parasite, you get rid of you too. You have your, at least you have a choice. They don't. They're already parasites to the planet. Okay, that was one that went a long way, I know.
So, is the chemtrails reasons why we have chemtrails with the fake clouds that's in the air because of the two suns? That's part of it.
There's 7 different reasons for chemtrails. And I couldn't go into all, well, I will just go, I can't go into depth with it again. You got weather control and weather modification, which are titanium, barium, and aluminum that they spray up there. Yes, you don't know what's going on in the heavens because they clouded over again. You also can put in anything, and if you want to kill off a bunch of people real quickly, you just spray up there, they got to breathe it. I asked a question usually, I say, does anybody in here breathe? And usually when I said breathe, so you think no whether I said breathe or something else. If you breathe, you're in trouble.
Yes.
So you might as well start doing something if you're in trouble because you still want to breathe. And what you're breathing is chemtrail air. Outside you see clouds and clouds. The weather is modified. The clouds are full of titanium, barium, aluminum, non-human T cells, manure, anything else they want you to have there again. And our whole Earth looks like Venus now from space. The Chinese were the only one that gave you a 2 read back from their satellite. There's a big cloud along the Earth now. It took them 13 years to make that cloud like it is. Now you have everything that they want. To hide what's happening, to put in killing things up there, one, to cause the planet to get to a lower vibration, to fight the binary star-sun system, to allow these serpents to start living on Earth because they can't take direct sunlight and hate magnetism. Everything there is for control of you. And most of the time they tell you that there's no such thing as chemtrails, that is contrails. A contrail is something, a plane flying above 13,000 feet, something usually to 18,000, that the moisture isolates over the fuselage and it trails back 12 feet behind it. These things go from horizon to horizon. They form patterns and X's and O's and everything. These are just the fleet that are making these things, and the persons or robots or stuff that is driving, that's where half your money is gone right there. Can you imagine what it takes to spray every day over every principal city here in the United States and town, 252 of them, plus every world continent on the planet? Only place they're not spraying now is West Gabon, Africa. And that's because they can't fly there because West Gabon, Africa is giving off a magnetic field 5 miles wide that's knocking out their satellites and everything else, and it's getting stronger. We are in deep trouble, but we're also at a time of resurrection. It's a matter of which way you're looking at it. Yes.
Well, why doesn't it hurt them as well?
Why what?
It doesn't, affect them as well.
They're
Since
living
they're the
inside
lowest-
the earth.
Since they're the lowest
The
floor.
serpents don't live on the surface. They can't take the light of day. They can't take the sun. That's why they're dulling it. They can't take direct light. They can't take magnetism. They live inside the earth on ships. They live in colonies. It's a whole different. You got more going on inside the earth than you got on outside the earth. Because inside the earth, you don't have that many oceans down there. The oceans are deeper. They live underneath the oceans here that we have.
If
And
we
you have
went
7 different levels on this whole planet.
If we went to contact you, to get more information on other things that you talked about in the past or today, is that possible?
Is it possible?
Yes, I
You're
mean-
contacting me now. If you want a personal
Well, that's right
consultation,
now.
when you see me in person, it's $50. On the phone, it's $35. You make an appointment and we talk. It usually will not take over an hour. And you can do that either way for me on that time, or just say if you got clubs and things, I still do some traveling, or it's going to get limited too. So we'll see again, that's it. Yes?
What should you eat? What can you eat?
Pardon?
And all this time you're talking about what we can't eat, basically about being what we are, what we're eating. What can we eat? What should we eat? What should our...
Well, what you should eat would be air, if the air were good. You now know you can't become a breatharian on the surface of Earth. So forget people tell you they're going to become a breatharian. They're going to die and they're going to be sick because the air that you're breathing is all messed up. But juices, if you can extract it from non-genetically modified food, because they're messing up everything, potatoes, squash, everything's stable. You have to try to get it organic. Or, by the way, as I'm talking about that, get it and put it on a diaplat. Any poisons or toxins in there will be removed before you eat it. So even if you make a mistake, you may not get any food nourishment, but you won't get any poison. At least you get some good fiber. Okay? This is what you have to do. And you try to get things that are juices. Get a good juicerator, or begin to get you a good blender and put the things in there, add to it oxygen, add to it magnetize it, put on a magnetic block so you change the frequency of it there, add to it whatever you want, and then run it and juice it. This is the easiest way for it to filter through the body. If not, then you try to get as many raw things as you can. Cooked food cooks away life force in it. So when you get it less cooked, it's better. If you're taking it for pleasure, then eat it for pleasure again, but make sure some down the line you eliminate that out of your body too, usually within 48 hours. You don't want to keep the same thing in. Really, every day you should go to the bathroom every time you eat. That's when you should go. If you don't get that peristaltic action, it means your body doesn't have enough fiber, doesn't have enough probiotics or acidophilus, or doesn't have enough digestive enzyme, because it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. The rest of it's going to pass through. So keep it open, keep your mind open, keep your spirit open, but keep that daggone poison chest closed when they tell you to take these shots and these other things that are drugs. But you can reach me, and I can put the phone up there again too.
Okay.
You know?
Miss Holly. You getting that thing from your doctor? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
708 422 6685. Let me make sure of that too. I got so many numbers. I think that's the one for the office. We loan bar.
708 Wait.
Yeah, that's right for the office in the center. Or, we don't need my cell phone anyway. That's good enough for there, right there. Well, while I'm traveling, I'll give you the cell phone number now. No, I'm not gonna do that. Just told me, don't do that. That's the office phone. That's where you can call for an appointment if you want to again, okay? I just go, yes.
Yes, Dr. Blair, thank you for such an eloquent speech. You imparted a lot of things that I wasn't familiar with, and I want to thank you personally. However, when you talk about terrestrial and extraterrestrial and interterrestrial, I'm from a school that says, that's evident by what? Everything that a person says must be shown and proved by something.
Well, why do I use those terms?
Yes, sir.
What better terms? Tell me some other terms that talk about people living inside, outside, and on, and I'll use it too.
But what I'm questioning is this, and I can understand, I'm a person that lives in the room of possibilities. And I always say possibilities because those are things that I don't know for an actual fact. So what I'm saying to you is, you gathered your information by what process, what means? Some plaque, some temple in Egypt, you meditated, you channeled this information. That's what I want to know.
I don't know how well learned I am. I'm well read. I have in my library 2,000 books. I've read 1,000. The other ones one day I'm going to get to before I die, maybe. Or I'll come back and read on the astral thing. I've listened to I don't know how many taped speakers. I don't really know. I do a lot of meditation. I have had experiences. I've been an astral traveler for some time. I got scared after a while, after I was poisoned. They thought I was dead. I'm very much alive because, again, from the understanding and the gods that helped me and the energies that I use in herbals, my wife died. They killed her, but they didn't kill me. But when they killed her, they let loose a vicious magician. And that's exactly what I do now on their plane. And it's like a vendetta. I was very much hurt by that. They didn't hear from me for about 3 years. So what I'm simply saying is, how do I know? I've gone within for most of it. The only way you find the truth, you can never get truth from me, as I told you. I'm not even trying to reach you with truth.
Yes.
You asked me a direct question, how do I know? Because it came from within me. Through my experiences, and by praying and meditating and asking, I got my answers. You got to do the same thing. All I'm doing is to give you a scenario that my conclusion reaches. You find your own truth. Never come to me for truth. I tell people I'm not a master and I don't know truth, but I have facts and I'm well researched. Take those I tell you, go within or go without, make your own decision.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. By the way, conception means to conceive vividly. That's what it all sounds like. Back all the way. One at a time, please. Do not talk what somebody else is. I'm sorry. I know it's nice, but they can't hear and you don't have a mic.
In my research, I have found, because you have said that Akhenaten, you mentioned his name, who had children with Nefertiti, who had his structure, was his long face and his structure.
Akhenaten?
Right, Akhenaten. You had said that he took a travel over and to a different part of the land, I guess in Southeast Asia somewhere where you say he learned about
Anthem on the track. Live from the land of snakes. With the same nigga playing your weight. Wanna give your hands a shake. Bitch, we got bands to make, rubber bands to break. Guns and butter, that land on lake. Got bread, got plans to break the Brooklyn way. When Tony killed Manolo, had to look away. It's a war going on, starting to look like yay. A power warn is battle torn, thou shalt not kill. When dying